Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari haven't gotten off to the start they would have liked. Or have they? The first days of Formula One pre-season testing provides only a baseline for the week, but Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari still have work to do on the track. At least that's what we all thought. But perhaps it could just be a good old case of sandbagging? So, in other words, have Ferrari tricked us all into thinking their car isn't up to speed where in reality it is? Hamilton was one of the more visible runners throughout the first half day of racing, providing a good opportunity to build a baseline of how the car looked and how he looked in it after more than 3 hours spent trackside. And in a way, it all looked good, but his times told us all a different story. A simple case of sandbagging, right? Well, yes and no. The Ferrari made a stronger initial impression than most, but the Red Bull, on a tougher surface, was perhaps more eye-catching because of how metronomic Liam Lawson appeared through turn 10. Hamilton had no serious difficulties throughout the 3 runs of various length and program that we saw. 4 push laps in a 5-lap run, push-cool-push on another, and back-to-back push laps later on. But still, his times were mid-table. So, could it be a case of a learning curve? There was more fluctuation in his entry to 10, which might be attributed to him attacking the curve differently, or using slightly varied lines after turn 9 as he adjusted to the car's feel. He would ride the inner curb 1 lap, dodge it totally the next, and then take a heavy bite. This may reinforce the theory that Hamilton was experimenting with different methods, as it appeared to get tidier the more the Ferrari came through. Hamilton's path through the corner appeared to be as smooth as Lawson's. It's simply that Lawson had far less variance from lap to lap with a Red Bull that, to be fair, was smooth and responsive on the front straight out of the box. However, as the first half day passed, the task appeared to become increasingly difficult. There was a lock-up into the slow turn 8 hairpin, a wide moment through turn 10, and Hamilton had a little snap exiting turn 4 that resulted in him dropping a wheel on the gravel. And in the final hour or so, Hamilton struggled to get the front end to bite for turn 10 when he attacked the entry more, though not as dramatically as Kimi Antonelli, who had a few big apex misses in his Mercedes that ended in a massive lockup, which happened to be when he was next on track after Hamilton's Ferrari. Extreme behavior is always more obvious trackside. It's a lot easier to identify a car that doesn't look right, or when a driver has overcooked a turn entry, than it is to distinguish between cars that will be a couple of tenths apart once the gasoline is removed and soft tyres are placed on. Trackside impressions, such as lap times, might also change due to a setup modification, fresh tyres, a changing fuel load, or weather circumstances. The wind gusts were visible during the first stint trackside, resulting in a headwind into turn 10, but a crosswind into turn 9. Later, it felt more like a crosswind for turn 10, and a headwind for turn 9. All of this is to say that this is very much a first impression, and expecting it to reveal anything new about Hamilton's adaptation would be a stretch. It appeared unremarkable, with at least as much refinement as you would expect from the initial rounds of testing proper. And the car conduct observed on track would have been undesirable for tyre usage, exaggerated over a longer stint. It might just as much be a symptom of Hamilton reaching his limit as it is of car vulnerabilities being uncovered, or Hamilton needing more time to adapt. The rest of the week will help us answer that more convincingly. For now, the bare lap times tell a dismal picture for Hamilton's first days in the Ferrari, with teammate Charles Leclerc fastest of the two, and Hamilton a second slower in 9th on the first at. But this is testing, and headline stats lack context. In fact, the disparity will be less obvious. Cool temperatures throughout the day, which was rare for Bahrain, meant that there would be no useful abrupt shift in track conditions to advantage those who drove later. However, Hamilton did drive during a slower time of day. At times, everything appeared to be in sync. At others, it seemed like a difficult first half day in the 2025 car. Hamilton appeared to receive some resistance from the car when he attempted to attack the corners more. He had a few noticeable wide moments in low-speed turns 8 and 10, as well as a couple of snaps leaving quicker corners like turn 4. However, it's worth mentioning that he never stopped attacking. Thus, there were no signs of his confidence waning. It's also likely that Ferrari had an understeer balance to rectify for the second half of the day and went too far, since Leclerc appeared more rear-limited than anything else when he stepped in for the afternoon. As a result, there is no reason to raise concerns. It speaks more to Hamilton starting on the back foot, as was to be expected given the scale of change, as he has conceded, and having a difficult learning curve this week. Nevertheless, the signs are there. Even though he just turned 40 years old, the drive to win and go fast hasn't left him. This was confirmed over the first days, and even more confirmed when it was discovered that Hamilton has gone above and beyond to make the SF-25 his car by completely revamping his steering wheel. Ollie Bearman discovered the fact and told about how the nerd in him noticed some important changes Lewis Hamilton made to his Ferrari Formula One steering wheel. After 12 years at Mercedes, Hamilton's switch to Ferrari has forced him into a completely different environment. Speaking last week, the 7-time F1 champion admitted that there was no common ground between his old and new cars, even the steering wheel. "It's rare that you jump in and it just fits," he said. For example, the steering was completely different. Everything. All the switch settings are completely different. The software is different. Everything. I am adapting to a car that's made quite differently to what I've worked with in the past. Hamilton has spent a lot of time modifying the layout of the buttons on the Ferrari steering wheel to his satisfaction, and some of his efforts were revealed during the first day of pre-season testing in Bahrain on Wednesday. Bearman, a Haas driver who is familiar with Ferrari's internal workings as a member of its driver development program, said he saw some unusual changes Hamilton had made to his steering wheel. "Seeing how much he's changed on the steering wheel, for example, is something that caught my attention," he explained. On his Mercedes steering wheel, the DRS button is in the place where, on the Ferrari, it's neutral. So I think he moved a few things around to save some things. The photographs of modern Ferrari and Mercedes steering wheel designs indicate some significant positional discrepancies between some of the essential buttons. And, as Bearman pointed out, having the neutral button in the same location where he had always reached for DRS was definitely not ideal for Hamilton. Onboard film of Hamilton's laps at Sakir on Wednesday revealed some significant modifications to this region of the wheel, including the neutral button appearing to have been relabeled. Hamilton appeared to be using DRS on his speedy laps by pressing a button slightly above his left thumb, while it is thought that another option is to use a switch behind the wheel. It is, of course, extremely typical for drivers to tailor their steering wheels. Even me, when I went to Haas, just moving things around compared to what you're used to is important, Bearman said. I can imagine, after 10 years in the same car, you build up some habits. I was interested, actually. I knew he would change a few things on the steering wheel, like it happens every year, and I was more out of interest watching what changes he's made. It's just an interesting thing. I'm a bit of a nerd on that side of things. Does this show Hamilton's dedication to being the best and back at the front from the start? And have his first lap times shocked you? Or are you anticipating Ferrari to top the charts in the last day of testing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.